Start. Why study emotional intelligence? Well, that's basic. The rationale behind this webinar. Okay, how many of you napanood na itong movie na ito? Inside Out. Well, some of you would have would have fun watching this. Pero did you know that this would be a movie 10 years in the making? The University of California, Berkeley Psychology Department was consulted how to make this movie. Why? Because you see, yung basic emotions dan, joy, anger, disgust, sadness, tsaka sino yung isa? Yung si kulay green? Si disgust niyan, basically. And then si disgust yung kulay violet. So, si sadness, happy, si joy. Okay. So, basically, dito nang galing yan. By the study and the work of Paul Ekman. Okay? In 1971. Well, sa ngayon, hindi na lang 6 ang basic emotions. My latest reading would be at least 44. Kasi kasama doon ang anxiety at kasama doon yung mga ibang mga emosyon, no? But they would be considered as secondary. But for the literature during the time of Ekman, there would be 6 basic emotions. That would be anger, fear, surprise. So yung sa movie, ang wala doon ay yung surprise, right? So anong tinuturo sa atin ng movie Inside Out? Well, let's discuss yung mga principles na Inside Out movie. Number 1, it teaches us to be aware emotionally. Well, if you know the story, the character is Riley. So her family transferred from Minnesota to California, San Francisco. At he was not fully aware of what's happening inside because in this movie, Joy, yung honestly, siya yung kontrabida. Joy tries to suppress every emotions that Riley should express. Kaya nga, eventually, when sa katapusan ng movie, Riley was able to express yung sadness niya. At yung sadness na yon basically, ang naging dahilan for her to have authentic joy. No? So that's 1. And the number 2, emotions would be considered as the basic grammar of social interaction. Without emotions, we cannot fully participate in social interaction. We read people according to their emotions. We express our thoughts through emotions. Kaya without emotions, napaka-stale ng human interaction. Okay? At ito pa. It also teaches us to put emotions to good use in decision making. Well, if you know also the movie, meron doon tinatawag na mga yung mga memory islands. Kasi whenever you have certain experiences, it develops core emotions in your brain. And it tells us that if there would be core emotions in our brain, entrenched, yung tumatak talaga sa brain natin, we can access those emotions if there would be instances and events that would trigger those emotions. At mamaya papaliwanag ko that emotions have impact and have effects on the way we think about things. Okay? So, part of emotional intelligence is how can we put our emotions to good use? And 4th would be how to use them wisely in different social contexts. For instance, you cannot just cry, kasi you have to regulate yourself. But there would be situations that will require you to be calm. There would be social context, there would be social instances that you cannot express what you really feel, mainly because the event requires another emotion. So how to do it? Well, the emotional intelligence literature would teach you how to do it. Okay? Pero nonetheless, may mga instances that mayroong mga emosyon talagang hindi sinosuppress. Okay? So, another thing, ito yung sinabi. Embrace sadness. This is the message. Let it unfold. Engage patiently with the preteen's emotional struggles. Sadness will clarify what has been lost and move the family toward what is to be gained, the foundations of new identities for children and parents alike. That's basically the message of Inside Out. Now, you cannot suppress sadness. You have to be real and authentic. Sabi nga nila, one of the reasons why this movie was shown in theaters is some people would really don't know the reason behind our sadness. Okay, isa-isayin natin. Di ba yung disgust? For instance, yung si kulay violet. Ano purpose ng disgust? The purpose of disgust basically is what? Is to tell people that there's unpleasant things happening and you have to get rid of those things out of your system, out of your body. Kaya you feel disgusted. Anger. Anger basically is what? A reaction to injustices and unfair treatment of people, of situation, and what you think is unjust. Okay? Yung si Joy, you know that, right? Mas malinaw yon na if you feel happy, if there would be pleasurable things, you feel joy. Okay? Pero ang tanong, yun nga, yung sadness. What's the purpose of sadness? Well, according to the movie, sadness makes us think about what really matters in life. Makes us think of the value of joy, makes us think of what makes us aspire for more pagdating sa buhay. So again, I really want you to watch this film again para at least ma-reflect niyo. After this webinar, I hope you have an idea paano siya nagiging meaningful sa buhay ng bawat isa. Okay? So, emotions and thinking. Why do we have to study emotional intelligence? Why? Because, did you know that our emotions can shape our current thinking? An example would be, I should say, kapag ikay takot, you tend to go for less risky decisions. Pag masaya ka, di ba? You tend to give away. Kaya sabi nga nila, huwag ka masyadong magbibigay ng mga bagay-bagay pag sobrang saya mo kasi baka pagsisihan mo siya. At fear can also paralyze you. So it's a reality, mga kapatid. Emotions can affect the way we think now. Kaya babantayan natin siya. And also, we have this thing called carryover effects. Previous emotional experience condition future decisions. For example, meron kayong trauma, meron kayong mga bad experiences, okay? That could determine how would you react now in situations similar to those you experienced before. So may mga carry-over effects. Kaya yung iba, di ba, kailangan mag-move on. Kailangan mag-inner healing process so that what they do now would not be reflective and would not be dependent on their bad emotional experiences. So, second one. The third is this. We have this thing called emotion-dependent biases. No? For instance, if we're angry, we tend to blame people. Kasi galit ka eh. And you don't see your faults. Kaya if a person is angry, there's this proclivity and tendency, yung pa-victim, di ba? Sabi niya, pa-victim. Siya ang laging nasaktan. Hindi niya nakita, nakasakit din siya. And also, pag pride, if you have this feeling of pride, ang focus basically hindi sa iba, kundi sa'yo. So emotions can make you biased. Kaya I hope you understand that emotions can be your slave or can be your master. And also, when you talk of thinking and emotions, our emotions can affect the depth of our processing. You would notice this sa inyong buhay. If you feel good about certain situations, yung parang you're so comfortable with the situation, you tend to be hasty in your decision making. Kasi okay na yan. No? May mga bagay minsan na hindi mo na pinag-iisipan. But if you feel or sense mga negative states, kung tawagin, yung negative feelings, yung parang may hunch ka, parang there's something wrong. You tend to be more analytical. Kaya you have to understand that we have to be emotionally intelligent so that we can maintain yung analytical and rational part of our brain. Kasi kapag feelings lagi pinapairal, we may not see things as others see them. Kaya yung mga blind spots dumadami, no? Kapag we don't have this emotional intelligence. And then, palagi ko naranasan nyo to, emotions can influence memory retention. The more emotional we are, the more exciting, no? Yung mga karanasan, mayroong easy retention and retrieval. Okay? Both sides, positive and negative. Extreme experiences. Yung ang saya-saya, you can never forget that. No? Yung pinakamalungkot, pinakamasakit, you can never also forget that. Kumbaga, tumatatak siya sa isipan. And that's also the reason why we feel hurt over and over again kahit tapos na yung relasyon kasi natatak siya sa ating isipan. Again, memories can be retained, okay, because of extreme emotional experiences. Kaya pag hindi natin nasala, mga kapatid, at hindi natin nabantayan yung ating emosyon, baka kung ano-anong mga memories ang pumasok. But of course, I would share with you later ano yung mga skills that you can learn to enhance your emotional intelligence in different areas. Okay? So, in the workplace, lahat ng mga young pro, there would be a lot of studies regarding this. If there would be an increased emotional intelligence in the workplace, especially among employees and also bosses, better sales, more successful recruitment, more retention of employees, mababa ang mortality rate, no? Yung attrition rate. Bakit? Masasaya ang mga tao eh. Superior customer service, better team performance, esprit de corps is so strong, more productivity, higher revenue. Why? Kasi mataas ang sales at konti ang nawawalang mga employees. Less turnover and absenteeism. The employees are so excited to work because the work environment is so good, no? And fewer accidents, grievances, and conflicts. So it is established in the literature. If you have high intelligence, emotional intelligence in the workplace, pwede mangyari ito. The same thing, no? We do not limit this to workplaces, but also in churches, in ministries. That's why this is my prayer that all of us in the church would also have this kind of intelligence, no? More than the our learnings about the doctrines, mga ministry teachings, we should also take a look at emotional intelligence. And also, because we're dealing with our Christianity, emotions can also have an impact on our moral judgments. I'll give you an example. For example, if you're angry, you tend to be more sensitive to unfair treatments. That's why your action would be what? Whenever you would sense events that there would be social injustices, you tend to rally against those people who would do these injustices. Okay? Kaya nga, if there would be chronic anger against societal injustices, you would see people rallying on the streets all the time. Because that's their guiding point. That's their default emotions with regard to things that they would witness in society. Disgust, as I said, disgust has something to do with aversion to impurities. So, if you see people who have impure characteristics, you tend to shy away or veer away from them. Example would be, siguro kung kayo malinis kayo sa katawan, di ba? Kapag kayo ay disgusted sa mga marurumi, palagay ko kahit mga pawis, kunyari nasa gym kayo, no? Gumamit ng isang machine tapos may mga pawis-pawis niya, you tend to be disgusted. Because you're coming from that perspective, no? Again, your moral judgments can also be translated to that incident. Maaari mo sabihin doon, napakaburara naman ng tao na to. Kagagamit ng machine, hindi man lang nagpunas, nag-alcohol, parang ganun. So I hope you understand this, that our emotions can also affect our moral judgments. Another example would be contempt. When you feel contempt, yung parang you look down on people, yung parang hindi nyo sila pagtitiwalaan, it's basically you're against people overstepping their roles. That's why you have this attitude of disapproval. Whenever you would see people who would somehow violate your boundaries, for instance, you would always see them as what? As always intruding to people's lives. Kaya nga, the question is this: what emotions rule your life each and every day? So that's for emotions and moral judgments. A quote by an EIA specialist, David Caruso, sabi niya, "It is very important to understand that emotional intelligence is not the opposite of intelligence. It is not the triumph of heart over head. It is the unique intersection of both." Ang sabi kasi nila, di pastor, okay na, let's do for emotional intelligence. How about IQ? Well, the truth of the matter is, the genesis or the origins of emotional intelligence scholarship really comes from frustration of many scholars that many would focus on IQ. Nonetheless, they would never dismiss the role of IQ And it's also essential in workplace and in our daily lives. Okay? So just to give you an idea, ito yan. EQ versus IQ. When you talk of EQ, dito pumapasok sinasabi nga nilang mga soft skills. Ang totoo niyan, it's to, sa akin, no, whenever they would consider yung mga emotional mga trainings, no, as soft skills, I disapprove of that idea. Mainly because kung ano pa yung tinatawag nilang soft skills, ayun pa yung mas importante sa workplace. Nonetheless, that's beyond our discussion. No? It's a debate. Characteristics, so something to do with empathy, good interpersonal relationships, ability to control impulses, that's EQ. Yung IQ, logical, analytical, reasoning abilities, abstract thinking. So, sabi nga nila, if you would allot one form of intelligence sa ating mga hemisphere ng brain natin, ang EQ would lean toward the right. Yung right hemisphere ng brain natin. And yung IQ yung left. About suitable profession, yung mga may high IQ are suitable for those who have social interaction, yung team building, those who handle mga people helping activities, counseling, humanitarian causes. Doon nababagay yung matataas daw ang EQ. Sa IQ, hindi pwede nating baliwalain, are great at mathematical jobs, yung ating mga engineer, software, web development. But you would notice this. Well, I don't know kung ako lang nakakapansin kasi I also came from College of Engineering, no? Some of my classmates would really be good in computation and then math. Pero minsan nakakalimutan nila yung i-develop yung social skills nila. Kaya may pagka-nerdy sila tignan. No? Well, the truth of the matter is there's no such thing as bad or good quotient, no? EQ or IQ man yan. We need both of them. In other literature, hindi lang nalilimito sa EQ and IQ. Meron din social quotient, meron din spiritual quotient. So, different facets of human life. Assessment. Well, the famous assessment tests would be yung MSC test, Myers, Salovey, Caruso, Daniel Goleman, pati emotional quotient inventory. I would discuss in passing mamaya. And also IQ, yan. Stanford Binet, and then Wechsler Intelligence Scale for Adults and Children. I don't know if you already took your IQ test. I first took my IQ test nung first year high school pa yata ako. At modesty aside, superior daw yung aking IQ, superior. Anyway. So sa inyo, I really suggest na take this test. Although itong sa EQ may mga bayad ito, no? But mamaya magbibigay ako ng konting short exam sa inyo. Siguro pwede nyo bistahin mamaya and then ayun kasi yung ilalagay ninyo sa evaluation form na papasagutan ko sa inyo after this webinar. Alright? So let's continue. Now, saan ba nanggaling itong emotional intelligence na ito? So that's the rational. The second section I would like to discuss is to give you an overview, perhaps, of the basic literature in this field. No? Well, I don't know if you're familiar with the name Howard Gardner. He wrote a book in 1980s entitled Frames of the Mind. In this book, he argued that there's no such thing as bobo. There's no such thing as incompetent person in the world. Because during his time, well, during his scholarship years, perhaps college years niya, many people and many teachers would be focused on one kind of intelligence, and that is IQ. The EQ campaign really started with his idea of multiple intelligence. So basically, sinasabi niya, iba-iba tayo ng katalinuhan. You may be good at math, pero you may not be good at basketball, right? Kaya sinabi niya dyan, there would be people who would be good at spatial, yung visualizing the world in 3D, so sila yung mga arkitekto perhaps. Naturalists, they would be good in gardening, mga tree huggers itong mga to. And then musical, mga magagaling kumanta, tumugtog. Logical, mathematical, computation, at mga logic, no? And then, pwede rin existential. Honestly, this is the most recent edition, 1990s lang to, no? When you say existential, may pagka-spiritual ito. Tackling the questions of why we live and why we die. They can answer those questions. The purpose of life, even yung yung skill on how to heal using divine power. So, naka-subsume siya under the existential intelligence. And then, interpersonal. Those who would like to be human resource people, they're really good in negotiations kasi interpersonal, no? They're good at dealing with people's issues. And meron din bodily kinesthetic, itong ating mga athletes, linguistic, yung magagaling sa words, either written perhaps or spoken, at intrapersonal. Ito yung understanding yourself, what you feel, and what you want. So sila yung mga philosophers and those who can help people process their emotions because they themselves have the skills to process their own emotions. So dito nanggagaling yung scholarship, okay, ng emotional intelligence. But even before, we already have ancient studies on this, magmula pa kay Plato, Aristotle, no? But the systematic way of understanding emotional intelligence, I myself, believe that this started during this era, that the Frames of Mind book by Howard Gardner was published. Okay, ang first I would like to introduce ay yung pinaka simula ng ng inventory at pagsusukat. This is from Bar-On. Professor Bar-On is an Israeli psychologist. Ang sabi niya, people who are emotionally and socially intelligent are able to understand and express themselves, to understand and relate well to others, and to successfully cope with the demands of daily life. So he saw emotion as a skill. So pag sabing as a skill, you can learn this. You can learn how to relate with others, how to cope with the demands of life. So that's why meron siya mga self-report exam na pinapasagutan. So, well, we don't have time to discuss all of this, pero ito yung kanyang mga areas na susukatin. Intrapersonal, so under that, self-regard, emotional self-awareness, assertiveness, independence, self-actualization. That's one area. Another area, interpersonal, your empathy, social responsibility, interpersonal, is stress management. Well, what's good with Bar-On, hindi to kasi na-discuss sa ibang mga measurements, no? He was I should say, the father of emotional intelligence measurement. Kasi siya yung nagkaroon ng systematic attempt na magsukat kung gaano katalino at kagaling ang mga tao to manage themselves. So meron ding adaptability, flexibility under it, and problem solving, and then general mood, no? If the person is optimist or happy relatively. So that's the Bar-On. Well, you can visit yung website niya. Just Google, no? Makikita nyo kung magkano yung bayad. And hindi libre ang measurement ng EI. Okay? Kasi they're using scientific psychometrics para magawa ito. And also, ito yung pinakasikat na ginagamit usually, the most widely used sa mga kumpanya, we call it the MSCEIT, Mayer-Salovey-Caruso Emotional Intelligence Test. So the ability to perceive accurately, appraise and express emotions, ability to access and or generate feeling when they facilitate thought, the ability to understand emotion and emotional knowledge, and the ability to regulate emotions to promote emotional and intellectual growth. So in this measurement, they now see emotion as an ability. Okay? So parang innate na sa'yo yan. Although, as I said, we can also consider emotions as a skill. That's why if you want to develop a skill or you want to somehow see yourself as skillful, take the Bar-On. It could somehow give you an idea kung gaano yung level of skill mo with regard to this. Pero ito, ability, at itong pinaka niya, parang heuristic device for you to understand how this operates. So paikot siya. If you know how to perceive, you would know how to use it. Number 2. And then if you know how to use it, you can now understand emotional information, not only for you, but also for others. And now you can also manage your emotion. Then babalik ko. That's the cycle. Okay? So, merong mga tests na pwede kayong makuha, pero still babayaran nyo, no? There's a website, yung Psych Test, I think Psych Test yun. Meron sila dong almost 300 questions. But for you to have the result, yung process, you have to pay siguro mga 500 pesos, mga $9, $9.99 for you to have an overview. Well, if you want to invest in this, you want to really know yourself, well, 500, siguro, pwede pag-ipunan. Okay? So, first, identifying emotion. That's the first area ng MSCEIT. So, the ability to perceive emotions in oneself and others, as well as in objects, art, stories, music, and other stimuli. You're emotionally intelligent if you can identify emotion. So let's have an exercise. Well, ito yan. Saan nanggagaling itong identification? We have this thing called mga yung upper face action units, no? Many scientists have studied that if we show emotions, merong mga direction yung ating mga muscles sa mukha. That we have at least 40 muscle formations sa mukha. At malalaman mo kung ito'y yung combination niya, kung ito'y nagagalit, kung ito'y natutuwa. So they've studied that. For instance, ito, in the context of surprise. So meron sila mga code na dyan, mga face codes. So pag inner brow raise, outer brow raise, may mga code na sila. So now let's see if you can check this. At if you can identify this. Yan. Anong yan? Pwede kayo sumagot. Pwede nyo buksan yung inyong audio. Anong expression yan?
Disgust.
Disgust.
Surprised or shocked?
Okay. Fear.
Fear.
Okay, so test nyo na kung kaya nyo, ha? So that's fear. Natatakot. Next one.
Anger.
Anger.
Okay, it's good. Anger. Next.
Surprise.
Okay, yan yung surprise.
Surprise.
Okay. Next.
Happy. Glad.
Sigh.
I don't know kung merong grounded na sound kayo.
Parang sad.
So, okay, I suggest yung electric fan wag niyo itatapat sa mic niyo. Mukhang ayun yung nakakaingay. This is what? Embarrassment. So imagine nyo, no? You can identify emotions just by seeing the facial muscles, no, moving. And then this, perceiving emotion. Ano to?
Proud.
Proud.
Pride.
Pride.
So,
Mas
pride.
spelling lang.
Okay, so anong matututunan natin dito basically? Okay, pwede paki-turn off na po yung audio. In identifying emotion, if you're low on this, that means you're not capable of reading people. And ano implication yun? If you don't know how to read people, you may relate to them sa maling paraan din. So low on self-management tasks because it often means they cannot manage emotional situations. Yung isang tao, galit na, akala mo okay pa. That's why your response is also a mistake. If high, you can be useful in relating people. That's first, identifying emotion. Next would be facilitating thought. This is how we use emotions, the ability to generate emotion and then reason with that emotion. So assimilating basic emotional experiences into mental life, including weighing emotions against one another and against other sensations and thoughts and allowing emotions to direct attention. So gagamitin natin yung emosyon sa iba't ibang context at ano yung dapat na gamitin in a certain situation. Example, what mood might be helpful to feel when meeting in-laws for the first time? 1 as not useful and 5 as useful. Kunyari, tension. Useful ba yan o hindi? 1 to 5. First time mo mamimit ang in-laws mo. Tensionado. Makakatulong ba yung tensionado ka?
2. 2 at least.
Oh.
Okay? So for some, sabi, kung hindi naman talaga first time, you've seen them before, siguro kahit online, yung pagiging tensionado would not be so useful. Okay? So surprise, makakatulong ba? What do you think? Sino yung ating mga nandyan sa ano? Sige. Pwede sumagot kahit sino.
2.
Sige, Pastor. Sir Jay.
2.
Makakatulong ba, Pastor?
Medyo 2.
2. Na-surpresa ka.
Opo.
Okay? Well, ang EI test, dalawa kasi yan. May objective pati self-report tests. In this case, this is an objective test. So meron siyang tama at maling sagot. So, tanong niyo ako, Pastor, paano malalaman na tama o mali ang sagot sa isang EI test? Well, they have been giving this test to thousands of people. Kaya usually yung majority of the responses, that would be the best answer. Okay? Di katulad ng IQ test, may pagka-objective na talagang kung ano yung 1 plus 1, 2 talaga yon. Hindi pwede maging 4 o ano siya, no? So, that's why it is an evolving, being updated from time to time, itong emotional intelligence areas. Okay? And also, joy. Useful or not?
Yan ang useful. 5.
4,
5 yan.
Mga 4 and 5. Kasi kung di ka naman matutuwa, di ba? Parang, so, I mean, that's how we use emotions. If you have that, okay, you are open to experience and good at accessing emotions, thus empathetic of people's feelings. Napakahalaga nun. Pag wala ka naman ito o kaya mababa, you have difficulty generating emotions to compare and contrast with other emotions. Hence, ang difficulty mo lies sa pag-evaluate ng feelings ng iba. Kaya ang tawag sa iba na nga nito na hindi marunong gumamit ng emosyon, emotionally constipated. No? So again, it could hurt your relationships in the process. Next would be understanding. So the ability to understand emotional information, to understand how emotions combine in progress, through relationship transitions, and to appreciate such emotional meanings. So basically, yung una, self-awareness. Pangalawa, using your emotions for a particular situation. Now, you now understand naman yung iba. Example, Joey felt anxious and became a bit stressed when he thought about all the work he needed to do. When his supervisor brought him an additional project, he felt, anong best choice dito? He felt overwhelmed, depressed, ashamed, self-conscious, jittery.
Overwhelmed.
Meron bang sumagot na ashamed? So the answer is overwhelmed. Kasi bakit? Given the context, na stress na siya, tapos binigyan pa siya ng trabaho, okay. So that's how we understand emotions. So hindi na emosyon natin inuunawa natin, emosyon na ng iba. So in that case, if you are low in this, mababa rin ang empathy mo. That's why you cannot respond to situations ng tao, kahit yung pagpapayo, mahihirapan ka. Kasi hindi swak, congruent sa kanyang emotional experiences. If you have high on this, we call that high emotional insight. It is necessary for you to understand people's behavior. Okay? At pinakahuli, in MSCAIT, is managing emotions. We also call this self-regulation. The ability which allows the management and regulation of emotion in oneself and others. Again, take note nyo to. Ang i-manage ninyo, hindi lang sarili nyo, maging sa iba. You know how to manage them. Such as knowing how to calm down after feeling angry or being able to empathize with and alleviate, sabing alleviate, pababain, the anxiety of another person. Kasi some people would just say, I need to regulate myself and that's enough. No. Part of emotional intelligence is also you know how to regulate and manage, not necessarily control, no? But you know how to alleviate, bumaba yung anxiety ng iba. And this is the skill that counselors would have dapat. Okay, example. Kevin just came back from vacation. He was feeling peaceful and content. How well would each action preserve his mood? 1, very ineffective. 5, very effective. Number 1, he started to make a list of things at home that he needed to do. Effective ba yan o ineffective?
Two.
So,
Very
again,
effective.
2 or
you see
5.
the context, You see the context. Okay? As very effective. He started to make a list of things at home that he needed to do. Okay?
1.
The context is galing siya sa bakasyon. He was feeling peaceful and content.
5.
Ang tanong dyan, how would he preserve? Pag sabing preserve, kung masaya siya dati, dapat masaya pa rin siya ngayon. Effective or ineffective?
effective.
1.
Yeah. Kung hindi 1, siguro mga hanggang 3, no? Kasi the thing is this, you want to maintain peaceful and content, right? And then now you're thinking about what to do. So you're adding stress again to your life. Number 2, he began thinking about where and when he would go on in his next vacation. Effective or ineffective?
Effective.
Okay.
Effective.
5.
Yan.
Very
Kumbaga,
effective.
Kumbaga, kauwi pa lang, nag-iisip na ng next vacation tour. I hope you're understanding the concept of understanding emotion and self-regulation. So, if you're high on this, yan, you're able to empathize. And strong interpersonal skills. Kasi you learn how to you learn how to understand people's feelings, and you know how to educate them with regard to their next course of action pagdating sa emosyon nila. So if you're low, so you always hear this, yung empathy, napakahalaga niyan. Okay, so far kahit paano mayroon bang idea? Pangalawa yan, MSCEIT. The third would be, yan. Well, tatlo ito si Baron, MSCIT, at yung pinaka-latest would be by Daniel Goleman, yung kanyang Emotional Competency Inventory. According to him, emotional intelligence is the capacity for recognizing our own feelings and those of others, for motivating ourselves and for managing emotions well in ourselves and in our relationships. Well, hindi nagsimula si Daniel Goleman from scratch. He was inspired by the work of Meyer and Caruso, and Salovey. At in-improve niya lang basically yan. At ang sabi niya, emotion is a competence. Kumbaga, you have to be good on this. So, meron siyang bagong call. Not only you have to discover this as a skill of yours, but you have to be competent in this. Pag sabing competent, magaling ka dapat dito. As I said, merong mga benepisyo yan, as you have this emotional intelligence. Sabi nga rin niya, if your emotional abilities aren't in hand, if you don't have self-awareness, if you are not able to manage your distressing emotions, if you can't have empathy and have effective relationships, then no matter how smart you are not going to get very far. And that's also a critique sa IQ. Kahit gaano ka katalino, and even in our churches, kahit gaano mo kaalam yung biblical doctrines, if you don't have this emotional intelligence, it can go to waste. Okay, ano sinabi niya? Ito na yan. Well, I don't know if you have this book. Bili ko yung aking libro sa Book for Less yata for 200 pesos. So if you can secure this book, at kung wala man, edi kuturin nyo na lang nasa email para napadala ko sa inyo. Ay, na-share. Parang ganun. I can give you a PDF copy of this. So ano sinasabi ni Daniel Goleman sa kanyang librong Emotional Intelligence? Dalawang areas of emotional intelligence, intrapersonal and interpersonal. So under intrapersonal, basically, yung galing kay Meyer, Salovey and Caruso ay yung self-awareness, self-regulation, pero may additional si Daniel Goleman, motivation. And then interpersonal, empathy and social skills or social competency. So just to give you an overview ng kanyang kanyang mga rubric, measurements of emotional intelligence. Okay? Pero ito gagamitin natin for this purpose. And after this, I'll take a break o kaya I'll ask you ask me questions kung mayroong mga clarifications, basically, what I would discuss here, the areas of emotional intelligence, bahagi siya ng ng pagtingin natin with regard to its self-dimension and social dimension. Pag sabing self, has something to do with you. And then social dimension, something to do with others. But tinati ko pa siya into three. Knowledge, the head, the attitude, the heart, and the hand, the behavior. So if you would like to juxtapose, pag-ugpungin yung dalawa, you would have the following. Sub-dimension knowledge, self-awareness. Empathy, you know what others feel, that's empathy, social dimension. With regard to feelings, you have this can-do attitude, self-dimension. And then motivation, it is social dimension. Why? Because you compel people to act. You compel people to move. Pag sabing motivation, you can make people parang take a course of action. Okay? And then, behavior, the hand, self-control, self-dimension, something to do with your stress management skills, yung iyong adaptability, and then sa social dimension, social competency. This would guide us. And each of them, later, join me in the discussion. Baka meron kayong mga ma-share. And I would also share some with regard to how to enhance these skills sa emotional intelligence. Okay? So, just like what the Bible tells us, Matthew 22:37-39, hindi lang self ang intindihin natin, kundi maging iba. Love your neighbor as yourself. But Christianity tells us that we cannot do it honestly without the first commandment. If we have the love of God in us, and if we love God in return, that's a good mix. I think that's really a good mix. That's the perfect mix for us to have emotional intelligence. Okay? Kaya hindi hinihiwalay ng Diyos, mga kapatid. Yung ating pagmamahal sa Kanya, sa pagmamahal natin sa sarili natin at pagmamahal natin sa iba. To tell others that you love God but you do not love yourself and you do not love others, sabi nila, is a farce, fake. Okay? So, isa yan. You have access sa internet, right? Meron ba kayo? Kindly visit this. Ito siguro ang break natin muna. Kindly visit this short EI quiz. Pakisagutan mga kapatid. At maaari hindi ko sasabihin hindi niyo sabihin sa akin yung resulta kasi mamaya ano niyo yan. Isasagot niyo sa webinar evaluation form. Sige. And this is our break. Let's have now is 2:23. Let's have a 10-minute break. Sagutan niyo muna yan. Okay? Kindly visit that. myframeworks.org test my EQ. Okay?
Noted po.
Sige. You need the link? Ilalagay ko sa sa chat box. Oh, kunan niyo na picture kasi lalabas muna ako ng screen. I don't know kung paano to okay. I'll send the link sa sa chat box. Let's have a 10-minute break, then sagutan niyo muna siya. Okay, mga kapatid, tapos na ba kayo?
Hindi pa po.
Okay.
Okay na po.
Okay. Well, you have to give me the result no sa web evaluation. Although you can also send me through chat if you want. That's a short EI quiz. Just to give you an idea, no. Pero if you want really real accuracy, I really suggest that you take yung mga paid online tests. Yung sa psych test, I can give you the link. Kaso may bayad, no? What's really frustrating do sa psych test ay sumagot ako ng napakahaba. Tapos at the end of the quiz, sasabihin sa akin, you want the full report? So, well, they gave you an overview lang, pero not the real report or the full report. So, lahat ng bagay ngayon may bayad. Kindly comment on the chat kung kayo'y tapos na. Anyway, kung hindi pa kayo matatapos ng 2:35, okay lang naman. Pwede nyo naman sagutan yan after this webinar. Ate Earl, baka next time ka na lang muna mag-special number ha? Kasi mahaba-haba yung ating discussion pa.
Sure thing, Pat. Okay lang.
Okay. Yan. Para maganda, parang naka-press con tayo. Okay mga kapatid, siguro last 2 minutes. Wow. Yung iba, ano, flawless. Iba, amazing. Kapag naka 120 kayo pataas dyan, flawless. Kapag beyond 120, amazing. Okay? After this, I can send you the link yung sa psych test. No? Para kung may oras kayo, you can answer that. Pero again, caveat ha, after you answered all the questions, hindi bibigay sa inyong full report. Bibigyan lang kayo ng snapshot. At ayun minsan yung frustrating. Gumastos ka ng 45 minutes sa pagsagot. Pero I mean, they can only give you a snapshot. Okay, mga kapatid, since we don't have much time, I will continue the lecture at maaari niyo pagpatuloy na lang yan sa inyong free time. Okay? So the first area is self-awareness. So alam niyo naman ang kahulugan nito. Nasabi ko na kanina. Pero isang game muna tayo. So pakibasa niya mga kapatid at ilan yung F diyan. Pakibilang po. Ilan yung F? Letter F. I can only give you 20 seconds. So ilan po? Ilan po yung F?
6 ba?
6.
6. Okay, sino nagsabi ng iba pang numero? Meron ba nagsabi ng 7? Okay, ang tamang sagot ay bilangin natin 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Kasi sa finish, sa files, sa off, na minsan, di pala minsan, madalas hindi nakikita ng iba. So, I mean, just a quick game about how to be aware. Although this is self-dimension, this is more of outside dimension, pero that's a skill that you have to develop when you want to know if you have emotional intelligence. Okay, ito, pakisagutan nyo to. Another, sa inyong papel. Yan. Total agreement 10, then 1 total disagreement. I'm aware of my feelings most of the time. Number 2, I can clearly define my strengths and weaknesses. Number 3, I can identify and name my different emotions. Number 4, I know my developmental needs for the short and long term. Number 5, I know which situations cause me to feel anger, calm, and joy. Number 6, I notice my physical state to understand my feelings. What's happening in your body when you feel feelings. Number 7, I am never completely swamped by my emotions. Yung flooded and then you don't know what to feel, for instance. And then 8, I am responsible for how I feel. Sabing responsible, whatever the consequences, whatever the expression, you're responsible for them. Okay? So, paki-add lahat yan, mga kapatid. Okay, magsabi lang kayo kung tapos na kayo.
Done po.
Done na po.
Mhm.
Ano?
Done po.
Okay. Sige, 1 minute pa. para sa iba. Okay, so pag in-add nyo na siya, ito ang metrics niya. 65 plus, you need only focus upon honing your skill or skills. 40 to 64 actions taken here would improve the quality of your life. So keep on improving. And under 40, your low score here indicates an element of AI that may be significantly undermining the quality of your life. So if your score would be 39 pababa, well, you really need this seminar para mas lalong mag-improve. Again, we always offer hope. May mga bagay minsan, bakit mababa ang ating EI? If you need counseling, seek counseling para at least mas lalo yung maunawaan ng inyong sarili. Okay, so let's proceed. Self-awareness. So ano ba yung mga domains ng self-awareness? Well, if you're self-aware, you know your impact on others. Positive or negative. Ako ba'y nakakasama sa kanya o nakakabuti ang aking buhay? And then you have this emotional and inner awareness, no? You know what you feel your feelings, and the ways you relate to others. Hindi ka clueless kung ikay nakakasakit o kung ikaw ay hindi na namamansin, you know it. And then you have this what we call accurate self-assessment. The congruence between self-perception and others' feedback. So kung sinasabi mong, for instance, well, hypothetically, sinasabi mong maganda ka, pogi ka, hindi lang ikaw nagsasabi. No? Sinasabi at kinukonfirm din ng iba. May congruence. Accurate. Pag sabing accurate, tama. Okay? Just like what Paul tells us, no? Sabi doon, for by grace given me, I say to every one of you, do not think of yourself more highly than you ought, but rather think of yourself with sober judgment. So that's self-awareness. One area of self-awareness ay magkaroon ka ng accurate self-assessment. Yung iba, narcissistic nasobrahan. Again, that's a personality disorder. Kaya nga, ito na, ang tanong, how do you now enhance your self-awareness? I have this proposal sa inyo. Number 1, you must know how to attend to your emotions. Pag sabing attending to your emotions, has something to do that you do not reject it. No? You do not dismiss it. What you feel, what you do, no? Alam mo, nakikita mo siya. There's this thing called self-distancing minsan. No? Self-distancing. Yung, as if you're a third-party person seeing your emotions, your feelings, and behavior. So you must know how to attend. At wag mong iba-brush off. I don't want to feel this, yung ganong attitude. And kasabay niyan would be the acceptance of those feelings. When you don't accept your feelings, you're denying it, you're suppressing it, and that's not really good for you. No, acceptance of emotions we feel in different social contexts. We say different social contexts, we have different feelings in different situations. Kaya you have to understand na part of self-awareness is acceptance. No? When you accept, no, you can know how to address it kapag mayroong mga excesses. And you know how to adjust it kasi you already accepted. This is what I feel. Kaya isang exercise I would like to give you is this. When you feel something, have a third-party statement about that feeling. Kunyari, ako'y naaasar. You may say this, si Ronald ay naaasar kasi that's how you have self-awareness. Yung lumalabas ka, you now observe your feelings, your thoughts, and your behavior. Okay? At ito pa, feel your feelings and learn to identify and label them. Ang tanong ko, alam nyo ba yung nararamdaman ninyo? Alam nyo ba yung mga labels? Kapag galit, disgusted, rage, you know that? Isa sa makakatulong I could give you is this, no? Yung emoticons. You know, no? Ang laking tulong nito. I mean, one of the consultants ng Facebook ay mga psychologists. They made emoticons so that they could express yung mga gumagamit ng Facebook, yung tunay nilang expression. Kaya bisitahin nyo lang kung ano yung mga fit sa inyong mga emoticons and then you can label it. Isa pa would be this, the feelings, emotions, will. Well, I can give you this, pero you can also find this in Google, no? Google Images. For instance, if you feel betrayed, dun tayo sa angry, no? ang root niya at ang core emotion niya is anger. So may mga levels kasi yan eh. So kung sabihin mo ikaw ay annoyed, ba't ka annoyed? Kasi frustrated ka. Ba't ka frustrated? Kasi galit ka. So if you can print this, importante, no? Na malaman mo ano ba yung talagang core niyan. Kasi as I said, meron tayong core emotions, sadness, disgust, happy, fearful, surprise, may bad nga dito, no? And then fearful and so on and so forth. So that's one. This wheel can help you identify ano yung nararamdaman nyo. And I have this suggestion also. Well, you can download this from Google Play Store. Yung mood meter. Well, I have my app, pero may bayad, 44 pesos. What it does basically is to help you understand yung feelings. Kasi meron yung tinatawag na high energy pero low pleasant. Yung mataas ang energy mo pero negative, yung hindi nakakatuwa. So that would be enraged, panic. Meron naman dyan yung low energy at hindi pleasant. That would be despairing, hopeless. And then may high energy. Let's see. Bukusan ko yung aking app. Papakita ko sa inyo. Teka lang. Masan ba yan? Mood meter. This is 44 pesos pero kaya-kaya nyo to. Mura lang naman siya. Well, isa ito sa mga tool na ginagamit, especially ako, I'm doing my counseling, if they can download this. And then meron pang Mood Flow. Just Google it. Mood Flow App Store. Libre siya, palagay ko. Teka lang. Nawala yata yung aking app dito. Nasaan ka na? Ka-install ko lang nun eh. Mood meter. This one. Kaya doon ako nakikita nyo. Teka lang. Let's see. Hi there. Nakikita nyo ba? Sorry. Ay, hindi. Naka-ano pala ako. Teka lang. Anyway, I'll just give you the App Store. So you can download it. Mood meter app. Makakatulong ito especially for those undergoing depression and those who would need help in the area of emotions identification. So makikita nyo kung ano yung pattern ng inyong emotion kasi once na naglagay kayo ng ano dyan, pipili kasi kayo ng isang button dyan, no? Kung ano yung nararamdaman ninyo and then nire-record nyo yun. And then malalaman nyo throughout the day and throughout the week yung magiging pattern ng emotion ninyo. And now you can assess. Okay, so that's mood meter. Okay, for reflection nyo lang naman ito, in your free time, do you find it easy to talk about your feelings? What makes it difficult to reveal your feelings to others? And can you shift your feelings from one to another? Well, different areas of self-awareness. Unang-una, you cannot talk about your feelings kung hindi kayo willing pag-usapan siya. Okay? At hindi mo alam kung ano yung feelings na nararamdaman mo. What makes it difficult? Because may mga bagay na pumipigil sa atin to express. But part of our self-awareness, of course, una, accept and label them. And then you have to express it so that people can know. Kaya dikit-dikit ito mga kapatid. Self-awareness leads to self-expression so that people can understand you. Okay? So that's third. Feel your feelings. Number 4 is this. Part of self-awareness is to gain perspective about your emotions. And you have to understand that emotions are transient, hindi nagtatagal, temporary, situation-based. May dahilan bakit kayo nagpakita ng emosyon na yon. At ito mahalaga to. Your emotions do not define who you are. No? Unless naging personality disorder siya, ibang usapan yon. Bagaman, we also do not define people according to their disorder. Pero ang emotions kasi transient lang siya. No? Kaya mahalaga na hindi mo sinasabi sa sarili mo that I'm angry now and I would be angry forever. So opportunities for change. So consider emotions not as mere emotions but opportunities for you to change and grow. So that's part of enhancing your self-awareness na you do not dwell too much on what you feel right now and you feel and you think you're doomed to that emotion forever and for life. So gamitin mo yung emosyon para ayusin yung sarili mo kung may mga excesses at maging bahagi yan ng iyong self-reflection. Okay? So, enhancing self-awareness. At ito pa, part of self-awareness is you know kung saan parte ng katawan mo ikaw ay nakakaramdam ng mga emosyon na yon. Di ba, kunyari, kapag ikay nagagalit, yung batok mo tumitigas. At minsan kapag ikay so depressed, yung parang winawarak yung puso mo, sabi sa akin ng mga nakaranas na nun. So, part of self-awareness is alam mo kung anong epekto nyo sa katawan mo. Why? Kasi para mabantayan mo rin ang iyong katawan. Be part of a community na health conscious para matulungan ka sa area na kung paano mo maalagaan yung katawan. I saw a meme, no, na kapag tayo nagpapakita ng emosyon, may mga apektado. If you're overworked, apektado ang gut area mo. Yung intestines. Pag sobrang galit, ang naapektuhan niya ay yung atay. So on and so forth. Okay? That's why we have this thing called yung mga ating autonomic nervous system. Well, if you know this, well, you can just Google this. I'll just give you an overview. Kapag tayo nasa emergency, ang nag-activate would be yung sympathetic system. Ito yung nagpapabilis ng ating sabi dito, no, heartbeat, stimulate glucose production. Bakit? It prepares for us to face emergencies. At kapag tapos ng emergency, ang nag-activate ngayon yung parasympathetic. Ito yung nagpaparelax. It contracts our bladder, it stimulates bile release, secretion, so baga, pang-relax. Kaya mapapansin nyo ito, pag meron kayong stressful period ng buhay ninyo, ang nag-activate doon yung sympathetic. Okay? So that's how emotions would affect our autonomic nervous system. Okay? So number 4, 5, and then have a self-reflection every day. Sit with your emotions. Huwag niyong hayaan na nakalipas ang araw na hindi niyo naintindihan yung nangyari sa buhay ninyo. Schedule the activity, be intentional. So find the place kung saan kayo makakapag-reflect. And welcome feedback. Bahagi ng inyong self-awareness ay malaman din yung sinasabi ng iba. As I said, no, there should be congruence between your self-perception and other people's observation. Baka maging mayabang kasi kayo eh. O tayo. At maging mali rin yung ating estimation. Maaring we rate ourselves poorly na marami tayong kailangan gawin at kayang magawa pero we rated ourselves napakababa. That's why, well, you have to study this also, your blind spot, the open area and hidden area. If you know this, the Johari window, may mga bagay na alam sila na di natin alam, may mga bagay na alam tayo na di nila alam, so on and so forth. So basically, ang sinasabi dito ng Johari, ang iiwasan natin ay yung mga bagay na hindi natin alam at hindi rin alam ng iba. Paliliitin natin yan at yung blind spot natin ay paliliitin natin. Ang ating palalakihin ay yung known to self and known to others. Ayun yung area. So, lalaki ngayon yung quadrant na yan. That's our role for us to have greater self-awareness. So, how do you do it? Talk to people. Hayaan nyo sila mag-feedback sa mga ginagawa ninyo. Okay? Self-awareness. Empathy. So, palagi ko naman, alam niyo naman siguro yung sabihin ng empathy, no? I should show a video nga sana pero next time na lang kasi di tayo offline nagse-seminar. Pero basically ang empathy ay tatlo yan. You know how to communicate emotionally and you know how to listen. So that you can understand people's moods and feelings. At alam mo rin yung impact mo sa iba. Dahil nararamdaman mo sila, alam mo kung nakakatulong ka o hindi. No? And then you have this desire to serve people. Not only you're having sympathy, you understand them, you create action out of those feelings. So sabi nga nila, sympathy plus action equals compassion. So yun ang basic na equation when you say empathy. Okay? So how to enhance it? Be available to interact with and notice people. Alam nyo, you cannot exercise empathy if you're always busy. So declutter nyo schedule nyo. May time kayo to talk to people. May time kayo to study them or to socialize with them. Okay? Kasi pag masyado tayong busy, hindi na tayo nagkakaroon ng pagkakataon kahit sa ating pamilya, right? Hindi natin nakakausap eh. And blessing in disguise ang pandemic na ito. Bakit? For so many years, nagkausap din na maraming membro ng pamilya. Kaya minsan hindi natin sila naintindihan kasi hindi tayo nakikipag-usap eh. Kasi wala tayong time sa kanila. Okay? Wala tayong time sa kanila. Okay? So that's true. And also, avoid over-personalizing feelings in relationships. Pag sabing over-personalizing, when you deal with people's behavior and people's events and also mga events at church o saan pa man, you do not own the feelings lagi. Yung parang sa'yo nakasentro. Uy, alam mo, ako, ganito ako, ganyan. Di ba? You tend to focus on others. Hindi yung, kung magdi-discuss ka ng feelings, you ask them. You do not express it. Although we need it, no? Pero again, we're now in this area, yung enhancing empathy. You focus on others, not on your experiences. And the last would be an active and a good listener. So how do you do it? Well, this is the Chinese character for listening. Eyes to see, may undivided attention, may heart to feel, mind to think, and ears to hear. So basically, ang ganda ng character, very symbolic ang Chinese character about listening. So undivided attention. It involves your heart, eyes, ears, and mind. And to listen is to love and to learn. If you don't listen, you cannot know how to love them kasi you do not learn from them. Yan, sabi nga nila, no? Sabi ni James, my dear brothers, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak. So, tandaan niyo yan, mga kapatid. Also, Hebrews 13, 1-3, remember those in prison as if you were their fellow prisoners. So, damdamin natin yung kanilang pinaraanan. At ang sabi ni Paul sa Romans, rejoice with those who rejoice, mourn with those who mourn. That's empathy, mga kapatid. So, enhancing, another thing. Yan, sa active listening, paraphrase. Well, ito, tinuturo to usually sa counseling, pero I'll just give you an overview. So, when you listen, you paraphrase. What I hear you saying is, it sounds like you don't interpret it. You paraphrase, you reflect. Honestly, the word is reflect. Para maramdaman niya, naintindihan pala ako nito. So, tuloy pa rin siya sa kwento. Pag nararamdaman niya na naintindihan mo siya, magkukwento yan. And ask questions for clarification, not to condemn whatsoever. To encourage the other person to elaborate on his or her thoughts. So when you say this, do you mean? Ganon. So more of clarification. Next would be, express empathy. I mean, you have to say it. Sometimes hindi nakakaramdam ang mga tao na tayo concerned. So you can say, I can sense that you're feeling frustrated. So yung isa, reflecting content. Ito, reflecting feelings. I can understand how that situation could cause you frustration. You reflect onto the person kung ano nararamdaman niya. At ito, use your body language para maramdaman. Mahirap yung nagkukwento, nakaganyan ka lang. Ano nararamdaman niya? So, walang reaction whatsoever. So, make eye contact. At least, tanggalin yung mga distraction. No? May nagsa-cellphone, kung ano-ano. Ang utak mo nasa iba, pero siya nagsasalita. So, nakakasira ng kanyang pag-express ng feelings. And then, avoid judgment. Okay, alam natin minsan na may ginagawa siya na hindi maganda, morally speaking, pero hindi yan ang venue for it. There must be a reason why he or she behaves the way he or she does. So, avoid judgment. Your goal is to understand mo na. Okay? At the end of the discussion, honestly, hindi rin naman ikaw magde-decide kung tama o mali ginawa niya. Kahit sabihin natin na mali ginawa niya, kung di niya nakikitang mali siya, hindi natin mapipilit siyang aminin sa sarili niyang mali siya. So to empathize is to understand. Walang judgment. The same thing, avoid giving advice. Well, these are the basic rules sa counseling. Bakit? Giving advice has its role. That is kapag hinihingi ng counseling. But of course, meron tayong tinatawag na teaching moment sa counseling. It's a form of giving advice in one way or another. Pero hindi ka magbibigay ng advice nang walang dahilan. At hindi ito ang basic default parang knee-jerk response mo. Pag lumapit, advice agad. No. Hindi mo pa nga alam yung problema, nag-a-advise ka na. So, mga kapatid, ilan sa mga bagay for you to develop empathy. So, ang pinaka-basic skill, listening. Alam nyo, yung listening sa kanila, napakahalaga na. Then just reflect. Nalulungkot ka ngayon kasi ganito. Alam nyo, ang laking epekto na sa kanila. Okay? Third, self-confidence. So yung una, self-dimension ng knowledge, self-awareness, and then empathy. Ito naman yung feelings. Ito self-confidence. What is self-confidence? Ito yung tinatawag nating can-do attitude, no? A basic belief that we can do what is needed to produce the desired outcome. So again, accurate assessment. This is different from arrogance. We call it pseudo-confidence. Akala mo magaling ka pero hindi naman. Kaya sabi ko nga sa isang post ko, ang taong magaling hindi nagpapapansin, kundi napapansin. Okay? So anong ating masasabi dyan? Well, Paul tells to Timothy, no, I know whom I have believed. So he has this confidence na ano man ang mangyari, hindi ako papabayaan ng Panginoon. Okay? At ito, ang mga taong mababa ang self-confidence, you can see, ito, meron sila nito. Hindi lahat ito, this is an exhaustive list, no? Pero mapapansin nyo, hindi sila umaamin ng mali nila. Bakit? Kasi they would be considered incompetent. At ayaw nilang maramdaman yun. They are unwilling to apologize kasi meron sila tinatawag na sense of false confidence. Hindi, magaling ako. Ikaw lang nagsasabing hindi. Naninira ka lang. Isa yung tanda na mababa ang self-confidence. And then bragging. Isang coping mechanism ng mga mababa ang confidence, yabang ng yabang. Kasi they want to feel that they're being accepted. They want to feel that they are being affirmed. So I hope you do not suffer from all of this. No? So how to increase your self-confidence? Number 1, I suggest that you write your own mission statement so that you will have a guide. It boosts your confidence whenever you write your mission statement and then nakita mo na ano mo siya, no? Namimit mo yung mga mission statement items mo. That's 1. Number 2, have a positive script about your life. No? Hindi mo lagi nakikita yung mali mo. Try to focus on the positive. I have an exercise for you. Every day, bago kayo matulog, write 3 bagay na pinagpapasalamat ninyo sa Panginoon. For instance, nagpapasalamat ko na sinuklian ako ng driver kahit maliliit na bagay lang. Kasi kung di niya ako sinuklian, wala na ako pamasahe sa susunod kong lakad. Number 2, nagpapasalamat ako, pinagluto ako ni nanay ng putsero. Masarap. Number 3, pinansin ako ng crush ko. Yung ganon. And do it for weeks. And I'll tell you this, may impact sa'yo yan. Nare-rewire ang brain mo na mag-focus sa positive, hindi sa negative. It's what we call in psychiatry and psychology, neuroplasticity. Pwede nating baguhin ang wiring ng brain natin ayon sa mga positive scripts. Hindi ito pagyayabang, no? Kundi pagre-rewire. Kasi we tend to have this negative bias na makita natin lahat mali. At sa mga bababa ang self-confidence, nakita na lagi yung kahinaan nila at ang kamalian nila. Kaya list your top 5 strengths and maximize them. There's a book, no, yung Strengths Finder, yung nilabas ng Gallup poll. I want you to have that book. So, alamin nyo kung sino kayo doon. May mga test din siya. Pero isa rin sa gusto kong malaman ninyo, bagaman may mga kahinaan tayo, tandaan nyo, meron din tayong strengths na kailangan nating i-maximize. And then hang out with positive people who can be your encourager. Mahirap yung laging kasama mo, hindi ka naman binabati. Yung wala kang encouragement na nakukuha. Parang hindi naman nag-uplift ng yung buhay pag down ka. When you hang out with positive people, nahahawa ka ng positivity nila. But of course, we have this thing called also toxic positivity. Na minsan, niloloko ka na lang. No? You're denying the reality of life. Iba naman yun. Seek opportunities to speak your mind. So ang punto, yung mga mababang self-confidence, do not talk. So when you have opportunity, express your opinion. Okay? Hindi kailangan mahaba. Sabi mo lang, oh, ito payo ko. Itong sinasabi ko sa mga sitwasyong ganito, I hope you can learn from me. Speak your mind. Show your talents and skills. And some people would have people assisting them, no, para sila ay ma-encourage. So, you can do it. You can do it through video, YouTube, Facebook Live ka, nagigitara ka, nagtatampol ka. It builds confidence. And break down action steps to achieve your goals. Ang isang dahilan kung bakit nawawala ang confidence ng marami, na-frustrate sila. Kasi they have these big goals. At sa sobrang laki niya, honestly, hindi nila makakaya. So, take one step at a time. We call this in educational teaching, no? Chunking. If you cannot read 100 pages in a week, well, unti-untiin mo. Huwag kang mag-uupo tapos babasahin mo lahat yung 100 pages. So, if you have 7 days, o 70 pages in 1 week, so 10 pages per day lang. So, ilang ang target mo. Huwag mo nang basahin yung iba. So, chunking ang tawag doon. At ito pa, monitor your progress. Importante na you have self-monitoring and assessment. So how you know that you improve? Of course, you have to put that down and monitor your progress. So mahalaga dito yung journaling. Okay? Ano pa ba? So isang example I could give you of self-confidence is Esther, di ba? Nasabi niya sa kanyang mga kababayan, kung mamamatay ako, mamamatay ako. Kasi naniniwala siya, di ba? And the favorite verse niya doon, for such a time as this, tinawag ako ng Panginoon. Kung sakaling, if I perish, I perish. She has this confidence. Nasasamaan siya ng Panginoon. Okay? So ito na. Sunod naman, motivation. How do you motivate people and yourself, for instance? Usually, ang motivation would involve these 3. Self-confidence, belief in your personal abilities. You have this initiative and accountability. You have this internal guide in you na you know in yourself, no? That you can take action and be responsible for them. You have this parang power in you na hindi ka kailangang sabihan. You act. Okay? And then you have this goal-oriented behavior. You have this focus. Ang mga motivated na tao, meron laging goals. Meron laging gustong mangyari. So if you don't have those, well, it could be a sign that you can never be motivated in one way or another kasi common element siya at basic element siya ng motivation. Okay? So, another thing is optimism. A motivated person is positive thinker. You cannot be motivated kung nakikita mo, wala na akong dahilan para kumilos, right? So you pursue things kasi you see the light at the end of the tunnel. And flexibility. You're motivated in a sense na ano man ang mangyari, I can adjust everything. If there would be problems along the way, I can fix it. Your activity could change. Your behavior could adapt to different settings and situations. Okay? So ayun yung elements ng motivation. So how to enhance it? The same thing with nauna, sinabi natin. You have to define your purpose. Importante 'yon. How can you be motivated to do things kung di mo alam kung saan ka papunta, right? The same thing, positive self-talk. Focus on what you can do, not on what you cannot do. So kung ano yung approach mo sa sarili mo, gawin mo rin sa iba. That's why when I do my counseling, kunyari may mababa ang self-esteem na tao, like ko sinasabi, pakilagay nga sa akin, ano yung mga bagay na kaya mong gawin? Ano yung mga bagay na di mo kayang gawin? So this time, in this week, huwag ka muna mag-focus sa mga bagay na hindi mo magawa, mga incapacities mo. Focus ka muna sa kaya mong gawin. And many times, I can see in their eyes, whenever they would be affirmed of their strengths, nagbabago pagtingin nila sa buhay. The same thing with you. Huwag kayo masyadong focus sa hindi nyo kayang gawin. Wala akong pera, wala akong jowa, ganun. Ano bang meron ka? So sa community work, we call it yung appreciative inquiry. You do not focus on what you do not have. You focus on what you have and you maximize them. Okay? And surround yourself, as I said, with creative and positive people. That's motivation. Okay? Kaya sabi ni Paul, ito yung isa sa verse na I could give you. Now that I have already obtained this or have already been made perfect, but I press on to take hold of that for which Christ Jesus took hold of me. So basically, motivation niya nanggagaling sa Panginoon. Forgetting what is behind and straining toward what is ahead. That is the verse that I could give you. Just like Paul, motivated to do the tasks that God gave him to accomplish. Kasi nanggagaling ang motivation, yung kanyang meaning, yung kanyang purpose sa Panginoon. As an example, I could give you a motivated person, si Nehemiah. Imagine nyo, nagawa ang wall in 52 days. So that's basically, wala pang 1.5 buwan, wala pang 2 buwan. Why? Maybe because he was so convicted na hindi po pwedeng masira ang wall ng bayan ng Israel kasi baka masakop na naman ng kanyang mga kaaway. So, the story of Nehemiah tells us na kahit may mga sanbalat, yung mga kaaway, opposition, if you're motivated, you can continue to finish God's plan for you. So, I really want you to study the book of Nehemiah for you to see yung planning niya, di ba? May nagbabantay, may gumagawa, at may rotation, so on and so forth. Okay? Meron siyang goal, kaya siya motivated. If you do not have the goal, palagay ko, malabo kayo maging motivated. Okay? Kasi bakit? Paikot-ikot lang kayo. Alright. Diretso tayo. First area, pagdating sa behavior. How can you now manage yourself? Self-regulation and control. Well, sabi ni Aristotle, si Lolo Aristotle, sa kanyang librong Nicomachean Ethics, anybody can become angry. That is easy. But to be angry with the right person, and to the right degree, and at the right time, and for the right purpose, and in the right way, that is not within everybody's power and is not easy. So, he was basically talking of the virtue of temperance, of self-management, of self-control. Ang tanong, kaya ba natin yan? Well, by default, marami sa atin di alam yan. Pero I would tell you this, you can learn it. Ang tanong, how do you respond to trolls? Lalo na ngayon, di ba? If you're active in social media, paano kayo nagre-respond? Lalo na pag Christian ka, pastor ka pa naman. Can you temper your words? O patulad na rin kayo ng mga troll? That's the question. Kasi if you do not have self-control, lahat ng issue sasagutin mo. Mga kapatid, ito sasabihin ko sa inyo, hindi kayo required sumagot at magbigay ng opinion sa lahat ng issue na naririnig at nababasa nyo sa social media. Well, there would be instances you have to speak. Pero hindi lahat, ha? Nakakaubos ng energy yan. So that's the spirit of self-control. Ano ba yung self-regulation control? Basically, ito yan. Ano yung areas? Una, emotional expression. Alam mo kung kailan ka mag-express ng feelings during times of stress and challenging situation. Ito yung pinaka-crucial. Because sometimes, hindi pa sometimes, oftentimes, napapabulalas tayo kapag tayo stress. So if you have self-control, you know how to control your expressions. And then courage, you know how to self-regulate if you know when to be courageous and when to be assertive. You choose your battles. Hindi lahat ng bagay, no? Parang nasa warrior mode ka. May mga bagay na pinalalampas, may mga bagay na pinaglalaban, and you know the difference between the two. Number 3, awareness in the moment. We call this mindfulness. Assessment whether situations are going well or not. You know how to regulate yourself kasi alam mo kung ano yung nangyayari sa paligid mo. Does this situation necessitate and require me to react this way? So natatanong mo sa sarili mo yan. So I don't know if you have this skill. Okay? At ito, the planning tone. If you're regulated and with control, you have this ability na i-steer yung conversation. Kunyari, ito example. Well, kung bata-bata kayo, teenager, yung mga kabarkada mo, nag-uusap naman kung ano-ano, mga kalaswaan at kung ano-ano. Pero if you have self-regulation control, you can steer the discussion. Ay, mga kapatid, alam mo, ganito. No? Usapan na natin yung wrestling. Wag na yung mga kung ano napanood nyo sa Betamax. Well, I don't know kung ano yung may Betamax. No? So, you have that kind of ability. No? You can steer the conversation to get your desired result. At ito, resilience. We call it AQ. Persevering despite the odds, decision not to give up. Resilience is bouncing back. No? Pag bumaksak ka, you can bounce back. Kasi if you do not have self-control and self-regulation, you would remain down. Hindi mo alam kung kailan ka magre-regain ng strength. Okay? So, ang tanong, ano example dyan? Of course, isa sa primary example natin na wala ng self-control ay si David. Nung nakita niya si Bathsheba na pinapaliguan at hindi siya nakapag-control. Okay? So, ang sabi ng Biblia, well, these are psychological facts, no? But also supported by spiritual guidance. We can have self-control really if we have the Spirit of God. Ourselves can only do so much because this body is so sinful. Mag-autopilot to kapag panahon ng stress minsan. If we do not have the Spirit of God, we cannot have self-control. Kaya we need the Spirit of God always. It is part of the fruit of the Spirit. Si Viktor Frankl, well, I want you to know him. Pwede niyong basahin yung Man's Search for Meaning. It's a good book. Well, hindi siya Christian, pero may matututunan tayo sa kanya. Ang sabi niya, between stimulus and response, there's a space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Well, basically, anong background ni Viktor Frankl? Isa siyang psychiatrist na nakulong sa prisons of Nazi prisons, no? Prisoner of war siya. At sabi niya, hindi ka tatagal sa ghettos o yung mga prison cells ng Nazi party, Nazi government, kung hindi mo pipiliing mabuhay. Kasi kung anong mangyayari sa'yo, it's your decision. At sabi niya, hindi lahat ng external factors would determine your action. Why? Because you have your free will. In that space is your power to either grow or be subjected to negativities. Your choice, mga kapatid. And that's self-control. So, and how you enhance self-regulation? Okay, give you some tips. Number one is avoidance. Di ba minsan alam mo kung ano yung capacity mo lang na ano, di ba? Mag-contain ng mga bagay-bagay. So, if you don't like the feelings, so do not be exposed to situation that would be so upsetting. Pero again, itong ano na to, itong approach na to, use this sparingly kasi not all the time you can avoid. And when you avoid, sometimes you suppress. Di ba? Isang skill natin dapat natutunan, you know how to express. So, avoidance, that's one skill. Kunyari, kung ayaw mo nang ma-expose sa kalokohan ng buhay, edi umalis ka dun sa mga nagbibigay ng kalokohan ng buhay. Number 2 is what? Distraction. We call this the dual emotion approach. So, di ba, pag nag-away kayo sa opisina, nood mo tayo Netflix. So, we call it dual emotion approach. Ibig sabihin, you watch things that would somehow parang relieve you of the negativities na nasagap mo. Pero again, use also this sparingly. Hindi ito pinaka-default mo dapat. Kasi you have to deal with the problem sometimes. Okay? At number 3, we call it reappraisal and reframing of situation. Minsan, ang tingin natin sa buhay, di ba, wala tayong magagawa. Pero think of this. Second best ito. To regulate yourself and not to focus too much on the negative side. Instead na yung mga trabaho mo, for instance, ilalagay mo siyang need to do this. Kaya sinusulat mo pa lang, na-stress ka na. So why not label them want to do? Nababago ngayon yung pagtingin mo. Hindi ko requirement lang ito. Gusto ko siyang gawin. That's what we call reframing and reappraisal. Instead of you focusing on the negative aspect of the situation, nagpapababa na yung self-regulation, na-stress ka, nagagalit ka, try to reframe it. Kung galit ka sa isang tao, ito in the area of forgiveness, do not focus on the offense. Isang style dyan, if you want to forgive people, know their story. Yan. So that you can regulate your emotion. Oo nga, katulad ko rin siya, nagipasaway siya kasi ganyan. If you know their story, maintindihan mo sila. So that's the third approach. Ang pinakahuli, this is the best, mindfully embrace your emotions. Name it to process it. Ito yung magpapa-improve ng emotional quotient and intelligence ninyo. Instead of you avoiding the emotions, embrace the emotion. As I said, when you embrace your emotions, napoproseso mo siya. At balikan yung sinabi ko kanina, you find means to gain insight from those emotions. Ba't ko nararamdaman ito? Anong gagawin ko ngayon kung ganito? Okay? Okay pa ba kayo mga kapatid? I will end na. Huwag kang mag-alala. So, that's self-regulation. At pinakahuli, social skills. Social skills has something to do yung how you mobilize and organize people and how you relate with them in a positive manner. Okay? So, building relationships. So, if you have the social skills, you can build relationships and build bonds. And collaboration. You can get their acts together. You can make them work together. And the ability to invite others in a certain project. At ito, magaling ka sa conflict resolution. The ability to resolve differences. Okay? And you're also organizationally savvy. You can understand them and you can also maneuver the organization according to the emotion, group emotions ng mga tao mo. Kasi you understand them, So, that's one. So, social skills. Ayan. So, palagi ko, naulit ko lang. Leading organization, negotiating solutions, personal connection, and social analysis. So, ilan yan sa mga area na you need to enhance. So, ano ibig sabihin? Learn to lead. Number 1. So, read leadership books. Learn the craft of leadership. And then, you can also learn conflict resolution skills. Pinag-aaralan niya mga kapatid. Mga soft skills, they say, na makakatulong sa inyo. Hindi lang sa church, maging sa ibang organisasyon. And always connect with people. If you connect with people, you have a wide network of people. Maintindihan mo iba't ibang rason bakit sila nag-iisip. I myself is active in the Body of Christ Ministry. Malalaman mo yung differences ng mga tao at ng mga churches, paano sila mag-isip, mga leanings nila, kahit politika, religion, mga theological biases, maintindihan mo sila. That's why hindi ka nagiging judgmental. Kaya siya ganyan kasi ganito. So hindi mo sila inusgahan, inuunawa mo sila. So pag naunawaan mo sila, mapapamahal ka sa kanila kasi hindi mo sila inusgahan. And now you can let them go together and you can find, I would say, a common ground for you to work together. And social analysis, ito, may mga expertise. Kaya may social science, psychology, behavioral science, even political science, because may patterns ang human behavior. So I really suggest if you want to engage in counseling, napakahalaga ng psychology, sociology, kasi may social psychology paano mag-isip ang mga tao in groups. So I suggest, if you want to develop social skills, you must have proper training. Pero kung hindi man, at least, ito the very least, personal connection. Okay? Kaya sabi ni Paul, do nothing out of selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility consider others better than yourselves. Each of you should look not only to your own interests, but also to the interests of others. That's social skills. Hindi lang sa iyo, kundi para rin sa iba. How to enhance? Number 1, an addition. Expressiveness results in emotional contagion. You want to influence people's behavior and emotions, nakakahawang expressiveness. Di ba mapapansin nyo to? Kunyari, may isang grupo na wala nagsasalita, tapos biglang merong nagbulalas, sunod-sunod na siya. The primary example ay yung Me Too movement. You know the Me Too movement? Yung may biglang nagsabi, naharas siya, sexually harassed, naglabasan na yung marami. Kasi meron na silang emotional support. You create ngayon a emotional contagion. Okay? And be useful and friendly to people. Alam nyo, maraming tao, hindi sila nasasamahan ng iba kasi bakit? Hindi naman sila bumabate. Kahit ngitian mo lang. Sabi nga nila, hindi mo kailangan makipag-usap. Ngitian mo lang siya. Ngitian nyo naman yung katabi niya kung nakikita niyo sila. Yung konting ngiti, honestly, napakahalaga na sa kanila. And always communicate online and offline. And I will end with this. You want to build your social skills. Importante, you interact with people regularly. Online man yan o offline. That's why meron tayong social media. But of course, with caution. No? Kasi very toxic ang environment ng social media. Okay, mga kapatid? Just a review. So, knowledge, self-awareness, and empathy. Attitude, self-confidence and motivation. Behavior, self-control, and social competency. So mga kapatid, maraming salamat sa pakikinig. I now invite you to ask questions. That will be the references. Batang May Laban.